Okay, so let's unpack this. We're talking about a world where cultural policy isn't just about, artistic quality anymore.
Right.
It's about hard data, spreadsheets, and measurable social outcomes.
Exactly.
Today, we are diving deep into a really fundamental conflict that's playing out in major Dutch cities. This struggle for government funding for the arts to prove its worth.
And it's all under this relentless pressure of accountability. We're looking at an era where policy, which is informed by something called New Public Management, or NPM,
Right.
it's fundamentally changed how we value, say, a theater company or an orchestra.
So our sources, which are based on some really extensive academic studies of cities like Rotterdam, Utrecht, Maastricht,
And Groningen, which is a key one.
and Groningen, they all show this really intense shift. Art now has to provide quantifiable proof of some kind of wider benefit.
It does.
So our mission for you, listening, is to really get this policy war that's being fought in city halls across the Netherlands. And it's a war that I think mirrors struggles for arts funding everywhere.
Oh, absolutely. It's a global issue.
So how did this focus on efficiency and metrics force art to become, a tool? And what happens when the very thing you want to measure, like inspiration, is just inherently immeasurable?
It's crucial to start with the policy shift itself. So after 2002, the Dutch local government structure changed. There was this introduction of duality in local administration.
Okay, and what does that mean in simple terms?
To put it simply, governance just became more businesslike. Cultural policy couldn't just rely on a specialized advisory board saying, this art is aesthetically excellent.
That sounds like a radical power shift.
Oh.
Because if you're a city council member, you want simple answers for where the budget is going.
You do.
So how did that business mindset translate into rules for the arts?
Well, the city demanded evidence-based policy, and that is the absolute essence of NPM.
Right.
Think of it like this. You're treating a subsidized theater company in the exact same way you treat a publicly funded waste management service. They both need auditable key performance indicators. The cultural sector was forced to provide an account of the societal effects their quality generated.
So justifying public spending with social results.
Precisely.
And here's where we get this heavy term, but the concept is actually pretty clear. Instrumentalization. Art suddenly had to be a means to an extrinsic end. It stops being about the experience itself and it starts being about economic growth, social cohesion.
Exactly that. This shift totally embraces what's called the commodification thesis, where art's primary function in policy is to achieve these non-specifically artistic objectives.
If you fund a ballet, you're not talking about the movement anymore.
Yeah.
You're talking about the tourism revenue it brings in or the educational outreach it provides to, disadvantaged kids.
That's it.
But I keep coming back to this measurement problem. I mean, how do you audit inspiration? How do you measure a challenged perception? If the government is demanding proof of social cohesion from some challenging new play, they're basically setting up the arts sector to fail, aren't they?
That is the core flaw that our sources identify. Artistic activities are just inherently elusive when it comes to standardized, thorough policy evaluation.
And the culture policy departments are small, right?
Yeah.
Compared to education or health.
Tiny. And because of that, they might end up imposing these impossible, highly technical measurement standards on the sector.
Which creates this constant feeling.
This institutional perception that cultural institutions are just perpetually falling short of expectations.
It's a lose-lose. So this brings us to the philosophical argument that's underneath all of this. The battle between intrinsic and extrinsic functions.
This is it. It pits the autonomous tradition against the positive tradition. Should art be autonomous, an end in itself, all about aesthetic development?
Or should it be an agent of social change, serving these instrumental goals?
That's the debate.
Okay, so let's define our terms clearly here for you listening. What is this intrinsic value that policymakers are finding so hard to quantify?
Intrinsic functions they're the personal reward. The aesthetic value you experience as an audience member.
That moment the art hits you.
Exactly. That moment it changes your perception. It's the delight and imaginative power, the testing of your own views, that experience of a totally new insight. They're unique to the aesthetic encounter. They're internal.
And the extrinsic functions are everything the policymakers can count.
Yes. the economic impact, boosting city development, solving social policy issues like integration or even loneliness.
Right.
But what's absolutely crucial here and where the policy theory connects them is that the extrinsic functions, they rely entirely on the intrinsic functions being realized first.
Wait, say that again. That's important.
Personal development, which is the start of all social change. That happens when your perception as a spectator is modified by the art. If the art isn't good enough or challenging enough to create that intrinsic personal shift,
Then it can never translate into anything else.
it can never become collective social or economic change.
So the core flaw is that the thing they want to measure, social change, can't exist unless the thing they refuse to just fund for its own sake, pure artistic quality, happens first.
Precisely. You're auditing the shadow, not the substance.
Wow. Okay, let's pivot to instrumentalism in practice. Because the sources show that Dutch cities, especially big urban centers like Utrecht and Rotterdam, they have fully bought into linking culture with economic goals.
Oh, absolutely. Their policy documents explicitly connect culture to attracting highly educated inhabitants, or what they often call knowledge workers.
The goals are really explicit then.
Very. Attract visitors, stimulate employment, and most importantly, create the right kind of sophisticated, creative business climate.
And this is where that creative class theory by Richard Florida gets cited a lot, right?
Heavily. The whole idea that regional economic growth is driven by creative people who, they prioritize places that are diverse, tolerant, and have a vibrant cultural scene.
They don't move for tax breaks. They move for the vibe.
That's it in a nutshell. Cultural facilities get treated as essential infrastructure, just like high-speed internet. They're magnets.
And we've seen cities do this successfully, right? With major festivals.
For sure. You look at Utrecht-Suisse, Ayun de Wurf and Spring Dance festivals. They generated significant turnover, a huge profile for the city. They became instruments of economic policy.
And beyond the raw economics, there's the image building, the prestige. Rotterdam's turn as the cultural capital of Europe in 2001. That wasn't just about having good art for a year, was it?
Not at all. It was a 5-star review for the entire city. It was signaling to the world and to potential investors, we are officially cool, we are progressive, and this is a good place to do business.
And this leads to real, tangible spatial effects. We see these extrinsic goals focused on urban regeneration.
Yes, new cultural facilities like a concert hall or museum can directly influence real estate prices. They can contribute significantly to gentrification and renewal in, previously neglected city districts.
But wait, if a cultural facility influences real estate prices, isn't that a clear, measurable, positive, extrinsic function? Why do the sources still argue that causality is impossible to prove?
Because it's virtually impossible to argue a direct causal link. A direct causal link between cultural policy spending and city development in the economic, social, or spatial domains. Culture is a major contributor, yes, but it's just one part of this incredibly complex matrix.
That includes, what, infrastructure, housing policy?
Virtual macroeconomic trends, all of it. The policymakers want a simple equation. X million euros in arts funding equals Y increase in housing values. But the world is it's messier than that.
That's fascinating. So they demand a clean audit, but the data is always contaminated by reality.
Yeah.
Let's move to a place that explicitly pushed back against this pressure. Groningen.
Groningen is the crucial counterpoint in this whole Dutch landscape. Their policy documents overtly express the belief that there will be no extrinsic effects without artistic quality.